Hey everybody, and welcome to another review on my channel, and today we're going to be taking a look at some knockoff LEGO Brickheadz based on Aang and Appa from Avatar: The Last Airbender. I got this set off at Temu for $20, and it comes with about 350 pieces, and it's time to see if they're worth adding into your brick building collection. Before we dive into the actual figures, I did want to highlight the instruction manual that came with this set because it's actually relatively nice. We get a good look at Aang and Appa on the back of the manual here, and I do like the inclusion of the 4 elemental symbols there at the bottom. I think that's a neat touch. And as we open up the instruction booklet, you will see that the directions are very similar to that of what you'd see in an official LEGO set. This was a relatively nice surprise as I've gotten other sets from Temu in the past and the directions can be hard to read and an absolute nightmare to put the set together. But I am happy to report that as far as the directions of this set goes, it's relatively well made and I think you're going to find it very familiar if you've built LEGO sets in the past. But with the instructions out of the way, it's time to talk about the 2 figures that come in this set and see if they're worth that $20 price tag. And we're going to start off by taking a look at Aang, who is the protagonist in the Avatar: The Last Airbender series. And I do think that this is a fair attempt at recreating the character in a Brickhead-like form. And this set doesn't come with any stickers, so all of the detail on Aang's face there are prints. And while the printing quality isn't as good as something you'd see on an official LEGO set, I do think it is worth mentioning, and I do find it to be greatly appreciated. One of the things that does bother me about the side of Aang here is this dip on the back of his head. I would have liked to have seen the transition from the top of Aang's head to the back be a little bit more smooth in design. I'm also not really the biggest fan of the alternating colors for the feet of Aang. I think having that dark brown to light brown just makes it look like he's wearing striped socks. But other than that, I do like the design of Aang overall, and I think it's a very good attempt at trying to make a knockoff LEGO Brickhead. I also like the inclusion of giving Aang his staff as an accessory. It's only a couple of pieces, but it is a relatively nice touch, and I do think it benefits the overall design of this figure. The other thing that I find to be relatively strange with Aang are his eyes. If you take a look at an official LEGO Brickhead and then you take a look at Aang, they actually have his eyes upside down. Here's a quick look at Aang behind the instruction manual just to show you that I do have the eyes in the correct orientation in case you thought I was mistaken or wrong. The last thing I would like to do is compare Aang to a couple official LEGO Brickheads. The first thing that I want to mention is you can see Aang has a printed mouth which doesn't come on official LEGO Brickheads. And I do find it a very interesting added detail. The other thing that I want to mention is you can see the head of Aang is a lot smaller than what you see on official Brickheads. There is some good consistency in the way that they design the character's legs and arms, and I think it's going to be relatively hard to tell them apart in that aspect. And lastly, here's a quick look at all 3 of the figures from the back, and again, you can just tell that Aang's head is a lot smaller when compared to the other figures. With Aang out of the way, we're now ready to talk about his trusty sky bison, Appa, who I think has a relatively strong design, and I do like the overall look of this character in this brick-built form. Appa does have a print on the front of his face that represents his nose, and I do like how the arrow that comes down on his forehead is brick-built. I think that's a really good touch. One of the things that I found relatively interesting with Appa here is there's actually some articulation in his tail thanks to the use of 2 different ball joints. There's no other articulation on the character, so it's not like you're going to be putting Appa into different poses, but it is a nice inclusion regardless. Another detail that I really appreciate about this character is you can see they actually have a brick-built saddle on top of Appa. And the designers were nice enough to include a couple of studs inside the saddle so you can actually fit a minifigure inside and have it ride the bison. And this is such a cool inclusion, and it almost makes me wish that this set came with an Aang minifigure instead. The directions also give you the option to put a studded piece on top of Appa's head if you wanted to have a character sit on the head as well. This set does include that spare studded piece if you wanted to go with that option. Like I said at the start of this video, I got this set off at Temu for $20, which when you break it down is the price of 2 regular LEGO Brickheads. And while this set isn't perfect and there are some differences from official LEGO Brickheads, I do think it could be worth adding to your collection if you're a huge Avatar: The Last Airbender fan. Thanks for watching and be sure to like the video and subscribe for more reviews.